Hey guys, a lot of great questions on sleep this week that I really wanted to start addressing for you. So I'm going to kind of run down the list here and we're just going to start jumping through them. So one of the big ones was best, like optimal time to get to sleep. And really, this is about 10 p.m. at the latest. Really, from about 10 p.m. until 2 a.m. is when your physical body repairs. So everything kind of neck on down almost. But then mentally and psychologically, your body repairs itself from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. So that 8-hour gap is going to be some of the most optimal sleeping time, which jumps right into the next question, which is how much. And again, that's really going to vary depending on the person, depending on the quality of sleep that they're getting, what they're doing throughout the day, a lot of different things that we're going to talk about shortly. But really that optimal sleep is in bed by 10 p.m. But this is making sure lights are out by 9, or you have dim lights, you have amber lights, you're going by candlelight, and you're really starting to wind down well before that, so that when you hit the pillow, your body is already producing melatonin, growth hormone, so that it's able to recover and hit a deep, restful state of sleep, rather than already being all jacked up and going still on adrenaline and cortisol, and you're not recovering and you wake up exhausted then the following morning. So that really kind of helps to mimic the sun. So that's really what you're going to want to do to find that optimal sleeping time and when to get to bed. Now, as far as length of sleep, the whole 8 hours thing, don't really buy it. I like about 90-minute chunks. That's how you want to think about it. So there's a 6-hour, there's a 7.5-hour, and there's a 9-hour. Those are going to be your optimal ones, because you go in about 90-minute sleep cycles. Again, it varies slightly depending on which cycle it is and the person, but those are going to be your basic chunks that you're going to want to sleep more in. If you wake up in the middle of like a 45 minutes into that, you're going to be really groggy, you're going to be out of it, you're not going to have fully completed that cycle, so it's not going to give you quite as restful of a state. So these are just things to think about, like, okay, if I'm going to bed at 10, I want to be up around 5:30, because that's going to be that optimal state where I'm just not like jolted out of like a super deep sleep or something like that. Another question was need to change sleep, or how much sleep will physical activity really affect. So if you're really physically active, if you do a hard workout 3 days in a row, you're going to probably need more than 9 hours of sleep to get those 5 cycles of sleep, rather than just 6 hours, 6 cycles of sleep, rather than going with 6 hours of sleep and only getting 4 cycles of that 90 minutes, because you really want your body to be able to physically recover. But speaking of activity can still be mental too. So I remember back in college when I was studying a whole lot, I was absolutely like ravenous, like just super hungry, and I needed more sleep. But that's because the mental activity going on, you need to be able to recover from that. And I noticed that even now, like days that I spend a lot more time studying and researching, it can actually really wipe me out more than a heavy deadlift session can. So things to think about, it's not just the amount of physical activity, it's just overall activity. So brainwave activity, but physical activity as well certainly comes into play. If you're more sedentary, you might not need as much sleep, but is being more sedentary going to be more beneficial? These are things that you need to weigh out. So really trying to find that balance between optimal activity for you and optimal sleep. And I suggest tracking it. I believe it's Sleep Cycle is the app that I use. I'll make sure to post that if it's not. But this is a good one to look at where you can use this, but use it on airplane mode if you're going to use it in your bed and with your phone, and it'll track your sleep cycles, so how well you're sleeping, but it can also wake you up at optimal times then too. And in the morning, you can even do like resting heart rate and certain things to see how well recovered you are. So these are all in that Sleep Cycle application. So it's a really good thing if you want to try using that. It recommends though that you use it up by your head. No, set it on your phone, down by your feet, even on airplane mode. Still going to be emitting a little bit from that, like electromagnetic stressors, which we want to avoid, but it's going to be much better than leaving your cell phone on all night. Caffeine and its effects on sleep. Now, there's a reason why there's no caffeine after lunchtime. It has a half-life of about 8 hours. What a half-life is, so if you have Regular cup of coffee, cup of Joe, at 6 or 8 ounces, there's about 200 milligrams of caffeine. Well, 8 hours later, you still have 100 milligrams floating around in your body. So this means even if you have that cup at noon, you still have 100 milligrams of caffeine floating around at 8 p.m. Another 8 hours later, you go, okay, look at your 4 a.m., you still have 50 milligrams of caffeine. Versus if you have this cup of coffee at like 6 a.m., 7 a.m. when you wake up, now you've really dissipated that throughout the day, and it's not going to affect your cortisol levels, your adrenal levels quite as much. So you're going to be able to get to sleep much better and be able to rest much easier with that transition. Alcohol is another biggie. Alcohol, it jacks up your cortisol levels. It spikes blood sugar. So it's going to throw you on this blood sugar roller coaster where you're going to be all out of whack. You're not going to be able to get into that deep restful state. Now again, people talk about like the glass of wine with dinner, red wine with dinner. I don't think it's a big deal as long as you are eating a balanced dinner. You're having plenty of fat, plenty of protein, plenty of good veggies with that. And that was one of the questions on here too. Like, what's your last meal look like? And I think that's what it is. It combines a good chunk of fat, a good chunk of protein, maybe a little bit lighter on the animal proteins though, not going like too heavy with muscle meats at this time. So maybe a smaller like 2 to 3 ounce serving rather than like this big 6, 8 ounce serving of something, so that your body can really rest, digest a little bit easier. But then also going and just having your good veggies with that so that you have that sustained energy throughout the night, so your body's not just getting jacked up on cortisol in the middle of the night. Now, beyond that, people have asked about supplements. And I'm going to actually share a post that I've done with this because I think there are a couple optimal ones that you can use. Magnesium is awesome. Anything that ends in 8. Natural Calm's a great brand for it. There are some other ones, but these are magnesium citrates, which can be used for bed for a very calming, relaxing effect on the brain, but also on the body, and help with muscle recovery. You have things like Nighty Night Tea is one of my favorites. You can get a valerian one now. So valerian, passion flower, hops, chamomile. Like, these are all different types of teas. Kava Kava, I believe, is another good one, where they're all stress relieving. And I'll post these so you have links to them. But awesome stuff to be able to use to really just kind of calm the body down, really just get you into the relaxed state. And other ones, I mean, there's a lot of different things that you can use. Some people have used making sure just getting even more fat before bed. You can use a little bit of collagen powder. You can use a little bit of raw honey in your tea. That's another nice calming, just relaxing thing. So there are plenty of different things that you can use. Beware of things like melatonin, because this is, again, a hormone. So not that you can't use it, but you just have to use very small doses and don't go crazy with it. It's not necessarily meant to be used every single day, but maybe for a couple weeks if you're traveling a lot, if you're super stressed out, and then you go into a week or two of down, relaxing time, then you can go off of it for a little. Just use your natural melatonin. So plenty of things on sleep here. Please let us know more questions like this. These are great to be able to answer, to be able to help you out. Post them in the Facebook page so that others can see these questions and we can really get the community growing, get these answers out there for everybody to be able to see. And let us know any questions on mindfulness too. I'm going to do a little bit more on that next week so that you can get that overall sleep, stress, everything there, and you can really add this to your daily practices.